I'm Carla with Race to Walk, and these are just some thoughts on a Sunday. And this actually is going to be going back to my Kabul Hope updates. I have been doing updates lately on things that have been going on with me, with all the hacking and everything that's been going on. But this is actually going to be an update on what's going on in Afghanistan. I there's been so much going on that I haven't. I do follow some of the stories, but not as intensely as I was before. But this morning, um, when I woke up to on my Twitter updates, I actually this is so crazy to me. But so I've in all my updates on Kabul Hope. So if you go to my website at racetowalk.org, like on the front page, there'll be a link to Kabul Hope updates, so you can see all the ones that I did in the past. And I've been talking about just the crazy, insane things that the Taliban have been doing in Afghanistan. And so, just as a recap of how we got here, we went into Afghanistan to unseat the Taliban after 9/11, right? And before that, they had been really, they have a very extreme form of Islam, and they had basically, just kind of shut women out. They weren't allowed to go to school. It's very misogynistic and abusive. Um, so we unseated them. NATO was in Afghanistan for 20 years. In 2013, Barack Obama, when he was president, started a drawdown. And so it was mainly, since then, it was really more just a very minimal force in Afghanistan. And uh, the Afghan troops and military were doing the heavy lifting, fighting the Taliban. And it was mainly, government contractors that were supporting that. So we had very minimal presence anyway in Afghanistan. Um, when when NATO was there, they were basically, the Taliban really never gave up, but they weren't allowed to control the country, and it gave time for people in the country that hadn't had an opportunity to be part of civil life or really have an equal playing field. Some of the tribes that weren't Pashtun, like Hazaras, they were able to, go to school and take part in society and not be, because before, it was the Pashtun tribe had been ruling for centuries, and it was very, racist, and it still kind of is, actually. I mean, attitudes take a long time to change, right? We know that in the United States, that we are, over a century out from our Civil War, and we still have, you know, um, inequality and racism. We do. We still have that. It takes a long time to change. But they were able to go to school, and I've told people this multiple times. The people that I work with, that I've been doing Bible studies with, they'll say they don't know English very well. When they say they don't know English very well, they just mean like they're not fluent in it. It's like people, like, especially like any kids like under 30, that have gone through those NATO schools or NATO, yeah. They, I mean, I've told them, like, I was so impressed with, the work that their Afghan teachers did with them, because they taught them to read English with phonics. Imagine that. They can, no joke, no joke, they can read words better than a lot of Americans can, because most Americans have been taught with whole language learning, which is a bunch of crap. So an Afghan may not know what the word means, but they could probably have a better chance of sounding it out than a lot of Americans can, because Afghans were taught English with phonics, Americans weren't. But they had that chance, they had that, especially women, they had a chance to be educated and have, a profession. And so when Trump had it's all posturing, honestly. It's like we were there, but it was really, we were supporting the Afghan people, in their fight against the Taliban. That was mainly more what it was. I do think that the former president was pretty corrupt, so that was another little issue there that was a problem. But when Trump signed that Doha agreement, it was a complete and total piece of crap. It was utterly worthless. It basically said that we're pulling out didn't have any requirements on the Taliban, and that we, in that contract or the agreement, basically saying that we wouldn't interfere in anything. So it was all pretty much one-sided. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I personally think that the impetus behind that piece of trash agreement was that Putin told Trump to get out, and I think that thing was literally treason. I think it was actual treason, because there are annexes that are part of that agreement. It's still secret, and people will even say, they'll try to say, oh, there aren't secret annexes. No, there is. There were members of Congress that actually saw them. It was in, there are stories in the newspaper that they actually are. So it's like the whole thing was shady. The whole thing was shady. So anyway, Trump initiates it. Biden pushed back the withdrawal, but quite frankly, the Taliban didn't even abide by just the lame conditions that were there. They didn't meet the requirements. I still don't understand that withdrawal. The only thing I can think of is that we had just gone through an attempted insurrection, and you have traitors in Congress, and the country's on fire with a pandemic. That's all I can think of. I just don't even understand the whole reasoning behind it. But I think Biden found the way of a lot of things. He could have found a way out of that piece of trash agreement. But regardless, it is what it is. We pulled out totally. The Taliban took over right away, and they are even worse now than they were when we went into the country in 2000, like after 9/11. So I've talked a lot about how women can't travel anywhere unless if they have like the senior male member of their family with them. It's not even like going to the doctor. It's just the craziest thing. They're banned from education after age 10. They even like homeschooling, that the Taliban were going in and crashing homeschools because they don't want women to be educated or to learn. They're shutting down beauty salons. They don't want them to have any like form of support. It's just they are like completely, the Taliban are trying to completely like surround them and suppress them and basically make them nothing more than incubators for children. That's basically what it is. So this last thing, I didn't even know this. They'd banned women from speaking in public. Then this was in the summer. Then like in September, they banned them from singing in public because they were singing in protest. You know how like in Ireland when there was what was it? It's the that dancing, the river dance. That was like a form of protest. You shut people up to find another way to express their displeasure. So today, the story that was put out is that they have banned women from speaking in another woman's presence. So women, like even in, it sounds to me like even women in in homes, in private homes, aren't supposed to speak to each other. I mean, that's like dumb. Like, how do you do this? Is this just like women aren't allowed to talk at all? Is that what it is? So this is what we've allowed. And we are sending money and support to the Taliban government, and we've allowed this. And I have to say to the Afghan people and to the women specifically, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that we sold you out. And, we support Israel because they are a friend to the U.S. in the middle of this area that has a lot of hostile governments to the U.S. Afghanistan was on its way to being something similar in Southeast Asia, and we could have had a friend there. And what we have done is we betrayed them, not only by the draw out, but because we have not been supporting our allies. I hope they make a change. There's been a little bit of, from what I've seen in immigration, there's been a little bit of more, a little bit more movement there, but still not nearly enough. And we should not be supporting those cretins that are just I mean, everybody's a human being, but when we continue to act in that sort of way, we destroy our own humanity. And I don't think those Taliban have very much left, just to be honest. So, um, I uh, just have to say that um, I have, I understand. I understand. I'm kind of in the same situation. The Republicans are trying to shut me up because I called one of our politicians, one of our senators, Ted Cruz, a hypocrite in 2017, and they've been trying to tank me ever since. So I I understand uh, when somebody's trying to silence you and shut you up. I get that because that's actually what I'm dealing with right now. But one of the things that's been an encouragement and a support to me as I've been going through what I've been dealing with is that I have, been um, meeting with and studying the Bible with my Afghan Christian friends for, it was over a year and a half, and seeing what they were going through and how resilient they are, and the struggles. And even though it seemed like things were impossible, they don't give up. They keep going, they keep persisting. That to me, it was like, okay, I can't do anything other than continue to persist, because I have their example to me of how you continue to persist even in what seems like impossible circumstances. And some of those families have made it to the US. So um, I just want to share a short Bible lesson, and this is for the Afghan women. I want to share with you the story of my favorite woman of the Bible. And this is a story in the book of Judges in chapter 4. It's in the Old Testament, what is the Hebrew Bible, and it's one of the 12 books of history. There are different types of books in the Bible. In the Old Testament, there's 5 books of law, 12 books of history, um, 5 books of wisdom and poetry, and then is it 5? I haven't been teaching Sunday school in so long, so now I kind of forget. But 5 major prophets and 12 minor prophets. But this is a book of history, and it takes place. The story takes place after God brought the Israelites out of Egypt, and He brought them into the land. And after they came into the land, they didn't have a king or a ruler, but what He would give them would be what was considered one of the judges of Israel. So they didn't have the full Bible, but He would give them somebody a prophet who could hear His word, and then they would come to that person for, to basically administer justice and to decide matters. And this, in Judges chapter 4, it talks about a woman, Deborah, who was one of those judges of Israel. And it says in the Bible that God gives the judge to basically lead. It's when they do wrong, and He gives them this judge, this prophet, to lead them out of this error. Like there was King Jabin of Hathor was oppressing them. It was a Canaanite king. Finally, he was oppressing them for 20 years through his main general Sisera. He was very cruel. He said he had 900 steel chariots. So he was oppressing the Israelites. And after 20 years, they cried out to God. And Deborah was the judge at the time. And she would teach the people come to her for judgment, and she would also teach. It said that she would teach under the palm tree of Deborah between Ramah and Bethel in the hill country of Ephraim. And so she would do this out in the open, so there was no, no hint of impropriety, like everybody's seeing what's going on. And so one day she called one of the military leaders from the tribe of Naphtali. There were 12 tribes of Israel. He was from the tribe of Naphtali, and his name was Barak. She called him to her, and she said, God has said to go out and take 10,000 troops from the tribes of Naphtali and Benjamin. So this is just 2 of the 12 tribes. And He's going to deliver Sisera, this terrorist that was oppressing the people. He's going to deliver him into your hands. And Barak said, I'll go, but you have to come with me. And she's like, okay, well, if you do that, then the the glory is going to go, you're not going to get the glory for the win. It's going to go to a woman. I'm guessing he probably thought it was going to go to Deborah. And so he probably was okay with that. It sounded like he respected her. This doesn't say this in scripture, but there's actually a Jewish teaching, Jewish midrash, that her husband, which was Lapidoth, which means light bearer, he lit the lamps in the temple, that he was actually one and the same as Barak. It does not say that in scripture, but saying that, it's like that the rabbi's teaching is that he was known as Lapidoth in his role as a lighter of the temple, and then as Barak as the military leader. But if you look at it that way, you can see that he, if that were true, then it just puts a different context on it. That he was, you could tell that he was not only okay with, but appreciated her gifts and her teachings and her wisdom. And not only that, but he was willing to give her the glory of what should have been his thing as a military leader, that win. He was fine with it. If that were true, that's a Jewish teaching. It's not in the Bible. But so they went out, and it says that the Lord caused a great confusion amongst Sisera and all his troops. And so Barak, they chased them and killed every last one of them. But Sisera was escaping. And so he went to the tent of Heber. It was a tent of Jael, who was the wife of Heber, because Heber was a friend of this enemy king. So he thought he would be safe there. So he comes in. He asks Jael to hide him. And she brings him in. He asks for water. She gives him milk. And then she lets him lay down and sleep. And while he's asleep, she takes a hammer and a tent peg and drives it through his temple and kills him. When Barak arrived, because he was chasing Sisera, she said, I have the person you're looking for. And he went in and saw that Sisera was dead. So the entire army of this enemy king was destroyed. And it was just the principal enemy was destroyed at the hand of a woman. She's my favorite woman in the Bible. Her name actually Jael means hand of God. And this is, when you look at how God used women through the Bible, he used them in many different ways. But never forget that when God created human beings, he made man and women in his image. And it's in the New Testament says there is no difference between male and female, Jew or Greek. It's that we have equal value before God. And so I'm praying for your success in your efforts. The fact that they have gone to this extreme to try to silence you tells me that there's already women rising up and taking action. And so for the women who are isolated and alone, I would just say, hold on, don't lose hope that people are working towards your release, and just be looking for that. Be looking for the out, and don't lose hope. So I put these up on my website at raisedtowalk.org. As I was reading this, there was a song that came to my mind that is kind of I'm sure you have your own theme songs, but this is one I'm just adding to your collection of for you in this effort, and it's called "The Call" by Regina Spektor. So I'll link to that as well, and I'm wishing you well. I hope you wish us well as well, because we have some crazy things going on in the U.S. too. So we will just be praying that God works in all of our situations. So I hope you have a great Sunday.